Welcome to the first episode of the National Flag series. In this series I'll be covering the history, symbolism and different designs of each national flag, going alphabetically from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe. For my list I will use all nations as recognised by the UN, as well as a handful that are not. At the end of each instalment I will give the flag a score out of 50. Let's begin the first episode, Afghanistan. The Afghanistan flag is one of the most complex national flags, not in terms of design, rather history and how often it has changed in the last 40 years or so. On the left here, we see the former flag of the country, prior to its recapture by the Taliban in August of 2021. I've used this flag mainly because today it is used by the resistance movement, and it is the most recognisable representation of Afghanistan that exists. The national emblem is merely a colourised version of the one seen on the flag, and the flag contains four colours: black for the troubled history, red for the bloodshed during their fight for independence, green for hope and to represent Islam, and the white seems to be a stylistic choice for the emblem to stand out. The vexillological history of the region begins in 1709, after the successful rebellion of Mir Wais Hotak in southern Afghanistan established the Hotak Dynasty. As simple as this flag is, black often reoccurs as we move forwards in time. Here we have the flag used by Ahmed Shah Durrani. This is significantly more interesting than that of its predecessor, and again makes use of a colour that will become important not only in terms of Afghanistan, but in the entire Islamic world in the years to come: green. The Vexadecimal dynasty did not use the flag of the Durranis, nor are there any records of official alternatives. Throughout the duration of his 21-year rule, Abdul Rahman Khan of the same Vexadecimal dynasty used a simple black field as the state flag of his emirate. It's unknown if this was directly inspired by the early Hotak flag, but I would say it's quite unlikely that that's the case. Habibullah Khan used his father's flag, however adding a seal to the centre. The seal is very similar to the one that exists a century later today, including a mosque with two flags, surrounded by sheaves of wheat. Amanullah, like his father, made alterations to the flag. He chose to adapt the central seal, favouring an Ottoman-inspired octagram. Both this seal and the one seen previously come back in different forms later in Afghanistan's history. Upon his change of position from emir to king, he again modified the flag. He chooses to return to his father's design, increasing it in size and including a mihrab in the mosque. Just months after his last change, Amanullah alters the flag for a third time, on this occasion introducing the tricolour of black, red and green that would become so identifiable as Afghan. It is said that the design was inspired by his 1927 visit to Europe, specifically the Weimar Republic. He also gives the colours the meanings they have today. The fourth and final flag change under King Amanullah's rule, we see the first use of the vertical tricolour, which survives today, and a relatively drastic change to the emblem, colourising and detailing the previous design alongside removing the mosque. Very reminiscent of the Soviet emblem at the time, as well as sun rays as seen in Japan's imperial flag. These six all occupied a very similar period of time, and so I've grouped them. Notably, the red, black and white colours are supposed to be related to the 13th century Mongol control of the region. We also see the return of Amanullah's first seal choice. Here we have the first flag flown under Nadir Shah, clearly taking inspiration from the Amanullah designs, as well as restoring the vertical tricolour. The second flag used by Nadir Shah, which lasted a solid 43 years, includes the riddance of the octagram and a return to a more traditional central seal, complete with a mosque. Look closely and you'll see the date 1929 in the Gregorian calendar, the year in which Nadir Shah's dynasty began. It is easier to spot once you see it without it on the next slide. Since the dynasty had ended, the date was removed. This was the first flag used by the new Republic of Afghanistan. It didn't last long, however, and was swiftly replaced by a new design style. The mosque and previous seal had disappeared completely, being replaced by an eagle in the upper canton. Also, the colour green was reinterpreted to represent prosperity in agriculture. For a few brief months in the middle of 1978, after the coup and installation of the new communist regime, this version of the flag was flown, without a seal of any kind. As you can clearly see, the 1978 to 1980 flag was heavily inspired by that of the USSR, as was the case for many communist states at the time. Afghanistan maintained their wheat sheaves in the now golden seal. After an overthrow of the Khalq faction in 1980, this alternative flag was used, with a more direct focus on innovation through the cogwheel and simultaneous agricultural production. A new flag was then used for 7 years, featuring a brand new seal design. The flag brought the return of the black, red and green tricolour and re-established their original meaning. The seal has a similar appearance to that of the East German and Romanian seals of the time. As Afghanistan once again becomes a republic, the seal changes into something slightly less communist. Following the fall of the Soviet regime and on the brink of civil war, the politics in Afghanistan become unbelievably complex and intertwined. These two flags on screen now were used to represent the Islamic State of Afghanistan, later known as the Northern Alliance, in 1996. Again a similar flag with a similar new green, white and black colour scheme, matching the more traditional pan-Arab flags. As well as briefly using a plain white banner, the Taliban used a white background with the Shahada either in green or more commonly in black during the Afghan Civil War from 1996 to 2001. In the years to follow, the Transitional Administration used flags very similar to the designs of the pre-communist era. The official flag was changed to a golden seal in 2002, which later became white and grew in size as the current, in inverted commas, flag took official status in 2004. On top of the changes to the seal, the ratio of the flag changed from 1 to 2 to 2 to 3, and the shade of green slightly darkened. In August of 2021, the Taliban regained control of Kabul as well as all of the major cities in the country, flying this flag, or sometimes a variant with Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan written underneath. For my final score, I will be judging the 2004 to 21 design for reasons mentioned at the start of the video. I'll give the flag a 5 out of 10 for keeping it simple. Although I enjoy the tricolour design and it works well, it's let down by its complex and detailed seal. 8 for meaningful symbolism, as every aspect of the flag has a long history and actual backstory behind it. 9 out of 10 for basic colours. I think the colour combination is unique and works successfully. For distinct or relation, I've gone with a 7. While the flag does incorporate traditional colours of the region, and particularly the Islamic green, it's rare for this group of flags to contain seals in the way Afghanistan does. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the first episode of the National Flag series on Afghanistan. Number 2 will be coming next, which is Albania.